said. It's interesting, my parents did meet in Lyon a little over 50 years ago, and they did not speak a common language. If they did, somebody else probably would be here giving this speech. But, and my dad has been teaching for a while, and it's interesting, I was always really intrigued by, you come back and say, you know, one of my former students is head of engineering here, one of my former students is teaching at Purdue, now it comes back and says, my former students are retiring. Somebody who got married this year, actually, and my mom knows these shirts because I bought both of them. There's a big, big, big defensive lineman for the for the Miami Dolphins called Roth. This is how old I'm going to be at my 50th anniversary. So you're much younger. You have two Dolphin t-shirts. They both say Roth. One's old, one's away. There you go. Thank you. You're very welcome.
That's how long they're going to live.
Talk to me at 97.
They're going to live to 120, so they'll be able to.
Absolutely, they'll earn the shirt.
That's
many
true. You'll
times
be
over.
98 at your 50th.
That's exactly right. So I'll ask for the shirt back then. You can borrow it. It really is. It really was a thrill for me and for all of us. And you know, my parents very well. They were absolutely delighted that I did get married before their 50th anniversary. Not the only reason I got married, but it helped. And you know, as Danny said, neither of us was around in '63, but some of you were. Obviously a bit younger. I'll take you back to 1963, the year my mom and dad got married, and it was a very different time. You know, you had the year started with John Diefenbaker, Prime Minister of Canada, Ben Gurion, still Prime Minister in his second term in Israel, Kennedy as President of the United States. All three of them were no longer in office. Kennedy obviously was assassinated in November. Pearson replaced Diefenbaker, and Levi Eshkol replaced Ben Gurion. So there were leadership changes, but the culture was very different. I mean, there was a joke that, you know, a dating culture. People were a lot more innocent. Bobby comes to pick up his date, Peggy Sue, and talks to Peggy Sue's dad before she comes downstairs, and he goes, "Oh, guess you kids are going out to screw. Peggy Sue loves to screw. She'll screw all night if we let her." Daughter comes back all upset. "Dad, it's the twist. It's called the twist." And the toys were more innocent. You had Barbie dolls, and then later on, Barbie was by far the most popular doll. And you had, you know, camping Barbie and surfing Barbie and partying Barbie. Now they have a divorce Barbie, and it comes with most of Ken's stuff. But so in some respects, we've become more cynical. But this is the kind of thing I'm young enough, unfortunately, to have grown up where the paradigm of marriage wasn't as consistent as it was maybe a generation earlier. And I always felt very blessed not only to have very young parents, but also parents who fall in love many, many times, but always with each other. And it's, as you see the pictures, Danny, thank you so much for compiling that montage. It brings back memories. Obviously, it would be an incursion on your time to touch upon too many of them, but just a few. And it wouldn't be appropriate not to acknowledge or recognize people who aren't in the room today. You know, my dad had a very close relationship with both of his parents and his uncle, my uncle Palko, and his parents, Oma and Opapa. All of who left us too soon. Our grandmother in particular was alive until 2004, so you saw more of her pictures and some other pictures. But every family has a story, and our story indelibly was written by the people who enabled us all to be here. On my father's side, I'm named Israel Lyon Roth. Israel after her father, who was killed by the Nazis. They never knew each other. Her mother, who survived the war, made it to Israel, brought her daughter home, and enabled all of this to happen. And it's really a testament to the sacrifices that people made under extraordinarily harrowing circumstances and under more pedestrian circumstances that ineluctably brought us to where we are. And Marissa and my brother mentioned my father's dedication to teaching. The good news for us is he brought his work home with him. He was just as dedicated in the house, just as dedicated to his wife and his children, and now his grandchildren and daughters-in-law. Really so concerned about making sure that he could be the best that he can be. And the same as, when it comes to spending extra hours in the office greeting students, investing the time to prepare a course that is, up to the standards that he would have wanted as a student. He was the same with his parenting. And my mother, God bless her, a Chevy Vega with a 12-cylinder engine. And we've all benefited from the boundless energy, but similarly, a lot of you know that my brother, who's, thank goodness, as successfully as he is, and the proud father of 6 absolutely wonderful children, 2 of whom you've met and will continue to meet this evening, got sick. And he was in Cleveland, Ohio, a place that none of us had ever been to. The only thing I remember watching as a little kid is the Cuyahoga River, burning, catching on fire. And my mom went to Cleveland as often as necessary, essentially commandeered the community, to its credit, very receptive to being commandeered, and did whatever she could as a non-doctor, but as a very able caregiver to make sure that everything possible took place to get my brother back to where he got to and now to where he is. So that to me was one of the most defining, exemplifying manifestations of the enormous talent that my mom has. So it was expressed in her writing and her sculpting and her painting, but no more profoundly than in what she did for her children. Again, in the traumatic, harrowing circumstances, but also in the everyday pedestrian circumstances. And you've had a big impact. I mean, as far as education, we benefited from a very strong Jewish education. As I look around the room, especially at a few people, and you know who you are, we're celebrating 50 years of my parents' marriage, but also 25 years in this home. And I think it's the first home they ever moved to that they recognized they would really never want to leave. And the reason is because of the people who were here in this room. And they joined the study group at the Shar Shemaim, and they became more active in the West Mountain community, in the Jewish community, and we benefited from that. I mean, my brother and I learned a lot about Jewish values, Jewish universalism, that God created us all equally, and there's no difference between a Jew and lahavdil and a goy. That's a joke. But you'll think about that later on. But yes. So, and that's also been a hallmark of the way we lived our lives, and caring about community, caring about humanity, enjoying to an extremely profound extent the education and the values that you've transmitted. And I see it also in your grandchildren, how much they love to learn. And my father was very instrumental in some of the homeschooling and with mathematics and literature and music, and the girls love music. The boys who are not here really love music. I recall them asking their dad once if halakhically, according to Jewish law, it's allowed for them to go to an opera. And I think the answer was, it's not oiver until the fat lady sings. So on that note, a very thin lady is going to get up and address all of you. So.